even if they're just the 7 seed. If you're a playoff team, you're a team that needs to take chances and believe in yourselves because you got there for a reason.
Michael Phillips. Michael, how was your bye week weekend?
I mean, the best place to be is on the other side of the bye week. Everybody's refreshed. Everybody feels good. I'm the same. You know, you can move me half an hour either way. Doesn't matter. I'm ready to go. Ready to hit somebody.
Anybody in particular?
No, I'd probably one of the Saints, ideally, but I don't think they're going to put me in, Craig. I didn't make the 2 deep this week. Didn't last week either. It's not looking great at the moment.
Yeah. The Saints need a quarterback.
No, that sounds physically punishing. That doesn't sound like my kind of thing. I'll probably stick with my press box perch or my television perch this weekend. I feel bad for whoever ends up in that spot. That's not going to be pretty.
His name is Jake Haener, Michael. Jake Haener.
My Jake Haener file is woefully empty, Craig.
That is actually the correct answer. Michael, you've won the game. Just full on, Michael. You've won the game! Hey! Okay. Michael, I wanna go through with you an exercise that I did with Dan Pizzuta on the show last week. Dan joins us on Thursdays from the 33rd team. He's very, very smart. I want to talk about like the things that we're confident in and the things that we have concern about going into this final 4-game stretch of the regular season. So if you think of the thing for the Commanders that you are most confident in, offensively, defensively, otherwise, what is it specific to 2024 in these final 4 games?
I feel really good about number 5, man. I just feel like if you give Jaden the ball in a key situation, he's going to deliver. And there's been, bumps in the road, obviously, and there's been games he wants back. But I just think the totality of his season says when there's a close game, you want him to have the ball and he's going to make something happen. I say that's such a luxury, right? That, you don't have to be leading by 2 scores. And, some of these teams with the Chargers stat last night, I think they've lost their last 10 3-point or less games. That's not him. Jaden gets the job done in the clutch. And I think that's just such a huge luxury to have.
I totally agree with that. I think that his ability to just figure out how to make plays is something that is unteachable. It's uncoachable. It's unschemable. Yeah. You just, no matter what the play call is, he'll figure it out. One of the things that I would say I'm not worried about, but I hope that changes in this final month is I hope they put the ball in his hands more in key situations. And specifically, what I'm talking about is getting more aggressive on 4th down calls. I go back to the Thursday night game where Dan Campbell's just like, my offense is my best unit. Bleep it, I'm winning the game with my offense. And he did. And he probably had already won the game with his offense, and he could have just kicked the field goal, and then his defense not having to give up 40 seconds, no timeout situation. I'd hope your defense can do that. But he was like, I can end this game with my offense with 1 more first down and a couple of yards, and this is who we are, and we're going to do it. And I hope that Dan Quinn gets to that point. Do you think that that is also something that is going to need to happen for them to take the next step and beat someone like, I don't know, the Lions?
Yeah, or the Eagles in 2 weeks, right? Would be a perfect example of that, where you can't beat the Eagles conservatively. That's not how you're going to win that game. You're going to have to be aggressive. And I do think earlier in the season there was a lot of coaching to the future, right? Coaching to hey, we're not going to let these things get out of hand. We're going to manage the workload, manage the situations that, even looking back to that Baltimore game, right? Even if we lose, we're going to make sure we lose close and nobody hangs their heads, and it's a valiant effort. It's a different team now, and it's a different situation coming out of the bye. They have the chance to make the playoffs. We can talk about the dream scenario, them catching the Packers and being the 6th seed, which would give them a winnable playoff game on top of all that. But even if they're just the 7 seed, if you're a playoff team, you're a team that needs to take chances and believe in yourselves because you got there for a reason.
Yeah, 100%. As for the defense, what kind of difference do you think Marshawn Lattimore realistically makes for them?
Yeah, I'm excited to find out, right? That's a bad answer when you dial an expert and ask him that question. But I think I'm curious what Joe Witt's going to do with everybody else, because this is a group that I don't think would be accused of being over-talented, but has certainly produced well over the last few weeks. Everybody's fallen into a nice rhythm and kind of found their spot, and St. Juice has settled down and had a few fewer penalties. Igbenogany, I think, has done well, and obviously Sanders still is one of the breakout stars of the season. and everybody sees that, he's going to have a really bright future. So now you add in maybe the most talented player from day one, right? I think he's more talented than any of the three. What do you do with that? How do you move those chess pieces so that everybody gets better? Not just, hey, we got one matchup that's better each game, but we made everybody else better down the line as well. And I don't know what the answer to that is, but I'm excited to see what they cook up this weekend.
No, I'm with you, and I think that I'm even excited for another element, which is like schematically, what do they do? It seems like Joe would like to play more man-to-man. I think we know that based off of his history and their history, they being he and Dan. And so now you have a guy that you can trust there where you can put safety help on the other side without needing safety help on both sides and thus losing players elsewhere. And I just think that then, that extra player can be really helpful in your pass rush, for instance. And I just think that there's a trickle down, not to mention what do they do with everybody else, and whether that's Juice still on the outside with a sprinkling of Michael Davis and Sainer still inside. Is it Sainer still outside? Like, I think that is something that they're probably not going to tell us on Thursday, or Dan will not tell us on Wednesday or Friday, but it's something that we will obviously find out in some dose this weekend, even if the dosage changes week to week, which I also think is a possibility.
Yeah, a lot of people want Sanders still going back inside, and I understand why. I don't know that that's going to be the week one move. I think they're going to ease into that, make sure they know what they got. You don't want to. He's really good, but he's also a rookie. You don't want to be jerking him around and having him. You're this position, learn this playbook, learn this guy, learn these tendencies. I think you want to bake in some consistency there, and I think they will. So I would caution against expecting, major adjustments this weekend, but I think if all goes smoothly, you'll see those over the next few weeks as they start to feel comfortable with what they got.
All right, ready for a good sports talk radio question on the way out, and then we're going to take I think we should take some calls on this after we get Michael's answer. So if people want to listen to the question, and then you should listen to Michael's answer too, but then hit us up at 301-230-0980. The most important non-Jaden Daniels player for the rest of the season is blank.
Ooh, I like that. I want to say I'm not deliberately disrespecting the defense because they're important. They're by some accounts as much as half of a football game. Frankie Luvu's the man, so I just want to say that. But I think the answer is Tyler Biadasz. I just think everything offensively is really important right now and kind of young and unstable and unsettled. And there's been such a huge difference when he's been out of games briefly. He hasn't missed the whole game, but he's missed series. And there's a noticeable drop-off in production when he's not out there. I think he's had a real calming and coaching influence on this offensive line. And you think about how you're going to win football games into January, it's going to have to be on the ground, and we'll see what running backs they have available. But the better that offensive line is, the less it matters which running backs you have available, and the easier it is for Jaden as well. I just think he's had a phenomenal impact on the season, and I think that if you keep him at his best and fresh and healthy, that's good for everybody. And on defense, Luvu's been spectacular. I mean, he's been great. But I think you also looked at maybe some of the bit pieces on the edge, your Dorrance Armstrongs of the world, where you say, hey, that getting production there can be really, really crucial late in seasons.
No doubt about it. Michael Phillips with us here on the Hoffman Show. We'll take your calls next on that answer. And then, Michael, we will talk to you post-Saints game next Monday.
I will look forward to it and enjoy the Juan Soto conversation because, that's insane to me.
Yes, it's a lot of years. It's a lot of money.
A lot of years.
A lot of years and a lot of money. And it'll be fun in 15 years, Michael, when he's 40 and retired, to look back and be like, wow, that Soto contract he got back in 2024 was cheap because so-and-so Jr.'s making $3 billion. Because that feels like the direction that we're going.
But inflation will have hit then, so it'll settle in a little easier.
So some would argue some inflation might have hit in recent times, but we're not going to get into that because that's a different show. I probably already touched the third rail. Zap. Okay, they're shutting me off now. Michael, thank you.
Later.